Hello, everybody. Good to have you all here today with us. I'm back from my holidays. I want to say thank you to my dear Elsa and my friend Solomon to supporting Charles and Silvia the past 2 weeks. And today we're talking about why do we need a law of destruction. This is a kind of topic we are afraid. We sometimes close our ears in order to not understand it or to avoid it. But we need to be, we need to talk about it. So, good evening, Miss Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
I'm very well, very good. Missing you, we missed you, but we hope you had a great holiday. Everything is good, and looking forward to this evening, this talk, because it's a very interesting topic. Um, in the first instance, what you think, and when you think, oh, there is actually a law about it. So that's what you're going to talk about. So good evening, everyone. It's really nice to have everybody and to be again here with Charles and you, Stevan, and everyone. So join in, ask questions, put comments to be really good. And hello, Elsa. She's there. So, boa tarde a todos. Prazer estar com vocês hoje, falando sobre a lei da destruição, que é um tema muito importante de se conversar. E bem-vindos a todos. Muita paz.
Good. Bonjour, Charles.
Bonjour Steven, bonjour Silvia, bonjour à tous. Hello everyone. Very happy to be here again with you to tackle this subject, which is a little bit different, the law of destruction, in order to see what is, how to say, natural destruction or abusive destruction, and where are the limits, and what is the purpose of it.
Good, good. So, first things first. Law of destruction. Why we need it? Why does it exist? And it's important to remember that we do have um, several laws, and these laws you can find in the Spiritist book, and you go Kardec went through all these laws, and you can access this um, by getting the Spiritist book. And let's start with Charles asking the question: why do we need a law of destruction?
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a natural law. The destruction is it's a natural laws, isn't it? For instance, we as human beings, we are here, born, and one day we will die. So, but there is destruction everywhere in the nature. The plants are growing and then dying. The animals as well. So the thing is, the right way to understand it is, we need some destruction. Why? Because with our physical body, we cannot yet live only with pranic food, let's say so, or energy. So we need really to eat. Of course, flesh is nourishing itself from flesh. But the eating is also can be vegetarian or even vegan. But even so, you have to destruct some plants in order to eat them, to bring the necessary nutriments. And when you look into the animal world, you see that the animals are destroying animals in order to survive through the law, which is the opposite of the law of destruction, which is the law of conservation. And this is also helping to keep an equilibrium, a good balance in nature, because without destruction, some species would develop too much and create an imbalance or even problems. So in nature, everything is balanced. The destruction and the regeneration are balanced in this way. So we can see, yes, there is the natural destruction is a law of nature. Okay. Now the question is, what do we call destruction for living beings, for instance? The day when we die, which part of us is destructed? Only the physical body. Okay. But the soul is indestructible. Is it correct, Silvia? Indestructible? You cannot destroy the soul. The soul is immortal. So the essential part of us is never ever destroyed. Okay. So only the physical body is destroyed. And we know the law of reincarnation. We talked about it already, I think, several times in this spiritual light emissions. One day when we decide, we can come back and be reborn as an old tree which is dying. The seeds have fallen down and are giving small trees which are growing. So it's not a destruction, it is a kind of recycling. The old body or the old tree is recycled by nature and comes back in the form of a brand new tree, or we reincarnate in a brand new body of a baby. Okay, so seen from this aspect, the destruction is we can understand that it is something positive, because why do we need to discarnate and reincarnate? It's in order to enable our soul to progress. So the law of destruction is a part of the natural law. In this way, is useful. Now there are some limits in the destruction, which is this natural destruction or necessary destruction. But there is also an abusive destruction. This natural law of destruction is in no way justifying abusive destruction, man-made, for instance, through conflicts or through war. So I will stop here because to leave a little bit for
Yeah,
you, Stevan, and for Silvia as well.
yeah. My dear Silvia, um, why sometimes we do have these disasters like tsunamis, this heat wave, why this happens?
Well, I think, like Charles was explaining, is all part of the natural law. And, a lot of things, especially those natural phenomena, as we call, tsunamis and tornadoes. And it's although it's very destructive, it's also part of the transformation, not only of the planet, but of ourselves. And they think about all those horrible hurricanes that destroy cities, and we constantly see, especially in America, they have very devastating, and lots of things are destroyed. But on the other hand, you have a lot of research, scientific research, to try to predict when those things are happening, and try to construction, engineering, they do a lot of work in trying to build structures that will withstand this kind of phenomenon. So in a way, although it seems a very negative thing, and is is a bad thing, especially for those who are living through that, but it's also an opportunity for mankind to grow and to progress and to understand better the things, because as I said, trying to, there is lots of work being done in, this storm chasers and everything. Some of those people, they really risk their lives to try to understand how it happens and how the phenomena takes place and how the winds and everything are formed. And they bring information. So it's an opportunity for us to learn, and time will come when all this will be part of our normal science, and there won't be as much distraction because we'll be able to predict it. We'll be able to build the houses that are much stronger. You see the situation in Japan, for instance, which I think is one, Charles probably knows this better than I do, how in Japan, all the research they do in seismology and trying to predict earthquakes and everything, they build stronger houses. So there is lots of work. It's an opportunity in a way for us to understand more nature, how, and to be able to create structures that will protect us in the future. And as we progress materially, morally, and spiritually, those things will be less and less. So it's all part of the whole, even though when you're going through it, it's a terrible, devastating experience, for people who do that, to go through that.
Yeah, thank you, my dear.
Thank you.
I think one of the questions people ask is why God allowed this happen. I don't know. You bought a house far away from a river, but rained so badly that the flood hit your house. And the first thing come up to your mind is why God allows it. These are kind of questions we need to not stop doing it, but in those moments we need to say what I need to learn from it. Like most of the times we seeing people with less financial resources suffering more with this kind of problem, flooding, uh, all these bad things. But either if you're financial, it doesn't matter your well-being or your financial. We sometimes ask why God allows it, and we need to understand that we are provoking it. Our attitudes, our behaviors. Like the other day, I saw a show. This show was taken in what's the name of it's not Greenland. It is uh, I forgot the name of the country. That is
Where
there is a
is
lot
in
of
the
ice. Is
Greenland? Is it Greenland? Iceland? Greenland?
above Iceland.
Greenland.
Greenland.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's ice, but it's called Greenland.
Yes.
It was
So
green before.
the guy he went in Greenland like 5 years, 7 years ago, and then he returned and he was comparing what he saw 7 years ago what he's seeing today, and clearly there is less ice than used before. So this is law of destruction, yes, but this is a law of destruction provoked by us selling more cars, traveling more on airplanes, you know, putting these wildfires, so all this. So why it happens? Because we ask it for, we provoked it, and this comes to read here question 728 of the Spirit's book, when Kardec asked to the spirits, "Is destruction a law of nature?" And the Spirit said, "It's necessary for everything to be destroyed in order to be reborn and regenerated. What you call destruction is only a transformation, the objective of which it is renovation and improvement of living creatures." So, depends the point of view. Depends if you are seeing the cup half empty or half full. You know. So, and so we already talked about the disasters. Um Also, we can say the wars. The war is a kind of law of destruction. Many families lost their homes. Their Many lives were lost. What for? Who provoked it? So let me see what more here. Charles, um, is there a turning point for a destruction?
What do you mean by turning point?
Turning point. What we need to do, not to avoid, because avoid is something not going to happen, but what we need to do in order to make the effects of this destruction less painful to ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, okay. Uh, I mean, Silvia and you told it already somehow. Huh? Today we know that Silvia told about hurricanes. Hurricanes always existed, natural ones.
Mhm.
But today there are more and more and even stronger. And scientifically, we know exactly why these hurricanes are getting more frequent and stronger. huh. It is because with the greenhouse effect, with the carbon in the atmosphere, the higher part of the atmosphere is getting colder, and the lower part on the surface of the Earth is getting warmer. So the temperature difference is increasing, and this is then amplifying and multiplying the hurricanes. So we can see it immediately already scientifically proven as a direct consequence of our overconsumption. So you told it very right, Stevan. Hurricane were, I would say, a natural law, lateral destruction. But now the multiplication of hurricane is the consequence of the human activity. You told also about the war. The war is not done by God, not at all. God sent us a lot of messengers in all the religions, including Jesus in Christianity, to saying, "Blessed are the peaceful and the peacemakers." So we as human beings, do not understand. And unfortunately, due to our selfishness, our pride, thinking we are more than the others, willing to dominate the others, these are the causes of the wars. And it's God has given us the free will, but if the wars happen, it's not because God is willing that the war is happening. It's simply happening because of us, of the humans. So very clearly we can see natural destruction, where the man is completely independent. For instance, earthquake in seismic area. You told a little bit about Japan, where there is an earthquake almost daily. But the people, the turning point, as you tell, it has been found. We know what the earthquake is, we know the intensity, and we know how to construct or to build houses and buildings which are resisting to the earthquake and which do not collapse when there is a big earthquake. So we can see that through our intelligence, these natural destructions, we can prevent the effects of them. But the second ones, the abusive destruction or destruction caused by mankind, our intelligence will also show us that the only sustainable future for the humanity is not through selfishness, pride, and wars, violence, but it is through fraternity, seeking peace, tolerance, abnegation. With those values, this abusive destruction will stop. And on the global warming, it's the same. What is asked to us right now is to say, hey, look, the consumption we do, you told about driving cars or flying in planes and smelting the ice in Greenland or whatever. What is asked to us is be careful, slow down, try to tighten a little bit your belt, make an effort to consume less or to consume in a more sustainable way. But how many of us, sincerely, are ready to change the habits, to stop doing things we are used to do in order to preserve nature? Not so much, unfortunately. More and more, that's sure. So it's coming. But still a lot, I can see still a lot of people, no, why should I go walking? Why should I drive by bus if I can go with my car and things like that? I live far away from my work because it's cheaper, because it's this. Looking always for the profit, for the money, for fun, for this, for that. So what do we want? Of course, the effects will only come for our children or our grandchildren. But we should never forget that the children of our grandchildren will be us again reincarnating. So we will not escape from that. And we will feel, even in the spiritual world, responsible. Our conscience will talk strong to us. Why didn't you do more efforts? And this is what our intelligence has to make us understand. You talked also about flooding. Yes, these heavier rains than usual are also a result of the greenhouse effect. So we know where are the areas with a risk of flooding. Why do we still continue constructing in those areas? So it's everything, a kind of, if really we would, it is our will, the will of the humanity. And if we look the global interests before our personal interests, we will find ways to prevent both natural destruction and abusive human destruction. Now, that one thing is sure: the destruction has to be understood as you read it in the question 7
To 8.
7 to 8 of the Spirit's book, that one day we will die. Whatever care we take, one day we will die. And this is not a destruction. It is just a recycling, a transformation, enabling all the living species to evolve. Huh? And when you see all the evolution of species by Charles Darwin or whatever, without destruction and reborn and reproduction and so on, this evolution would not happen. It seems obvious. Huh? So, seen from that angle, once we in our physical body make the best use of it in order to better our soul, which is what we are really keeping with us. But conscient also that the essential part in us is the soul, the vision will completely change. And the day we will have to die, instead of mourning, crying, and whatsoever, it should be a satisfaction. Okay, he's free. He or she is freed now from his or her physical body. He went back to the spiritual home. He made his mission here on earth, and one day, to continue his evolution, he will come back and be reborn in a baby. So this changes completely the vision, even of the death, the vision of the destruction, seeing it as a transformation, a tool for evolution rather than something painful or whatsoever.
Great. Great. So, in other words, we need to be ourselves and think about the others. So, my dear Silvia, uh, what do you think is necessary uh, for this new world? All these melting, these heat waves, all these. What do you think is coming to us?
Ooh. I wish I was a prophet.
Well,
I think
Nostradamus.
um, I think it is, all this the situation that's happening in the planet is part also of the transformation of the earth. We do have some responsibility in the things that we're doing and everything, but I think it also is part of the process of the progression and the transformation of the planet itself. I don't think everything is to blame on us, and especially I think we're becoming much more aware of our part in destruction, in becoming the fifth
Yeah.
force of Earth. But and we be more conscious, and I think when we start thinking about uh, bettering everything for everyone, not so much for profit, then it would be better. But we're progressing spiritually. But the earth has gone through many, many, many different, many changes, and I think I read somewhere that in the spiritualist literature that this is part of the process as well, in which the earth will be a little more, there will be less of a contrast in temperatures, very hot, very cold. There'll be more a kind of better, the temperature and everything. And it's interesting, when they were building the Elizabeth line here in London, they found, I think underneath Trafalgar Square, where Trafalgar Square is now, they found mammoths and things and some tropical trees. So it meant that at some few million years ago, this part of London used to be a quite temperate forest. We have kind of tropical kind of trees and stuff that they found underneath the earth when they were caving deep down to build the line. So, the earth has been going through too many transformation, and we need to be aware not to create it even more. But I personally feel that because we are living now, I think the last throes really of the transformation of a planet from atonement to a planet of regeneration, and everything will become more emphasized, the heat and the cold and all the places, flooding and hurricane and everything. I think it is also is part of the process of progression, because in the question that you said, 728, the Spirit's book, and said, why do it exists? And as you said, he said it's necessary that all things should be destroyed, that they may be reborn and regenerated. And what you call destruction is only a transformation, the
Yes.
aim of which is
Good point.
renewal and amelioration of living beings. You know, and it's interesting because if you go to the Hindu culture, like the goddess Kali, she's the goddess of destruction, but she also the goddess of life and the creation and everything. She has both opposite, and it's interesting how you see in different cultures, what you read in the Spirit's book, you can associate with cultures of from millennia that have this idea of destruction and life and creation at the same time, both parts of the same. And I think this is very important for us to understand, because we do a part. We cannot transform everything, but we can be more careful, switch off the lights, and I think people are becoming more. I remember going to people's house that all the lights were on. I'm sure everybody remember all the corridors, the rooms, and you just would leave the lights on. Nowadays, you go and there is a sitting wherever people are, the lights on, and then they switch off the lights, which helps, doesn't it? Not having. And in many companies, I mean, the company where, when I was going to the office, in our office, the toilets and the kitchen and some other parts, even a room, after being for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, no one there, the lights would switch off by itself. Now you have this technology that if you don't bother, you don't have to even think about it. The lights will go off after certain, that there is no movement there. So I think, there's difficulties, and the problems are creating new possibilities, like this question of a light after 15 minutes or something, they can be switched off without, because there is no one there, no one is using it. We already have this technology. So, we are improving, and there are necessity, there is needs for to progress, so we learn new things. And I think one point that Charles made, actually, that a few years ago, we had here in England lots and lots of flooding, because what they do, they push the river in and then build houses where before, whenever there were flooding or something, the river would expand. So the houses, when you have rain things, they become flooded. And because people want more and more space. And it's just thing to think about, volcanoes. Volcanoes are one of the most destructive forces on our planet, close to earthquakes and everything. But once it's the most fertile land is around the volcanoes. You go to Mount Vesuvius. I remember I went to Mount Vesuvius a few years ago. I went up all the way. We climbed, walked Mount Vesuvius all the way to the top. And I was so amazed that all around there are farms, people planting things, just at the base of the volcano. And you think, of course, that thing blows again. The first thing that goes to the little farms. But it's because the earth is productive there. It's so productive to plant things, And I saw not very long ago a film about it. And now I think it's 5 times or 10 times more full of houses and things than it was when I went there a few years ago. So, mankind tries to live in the most hostile of environment, but we're learning and we're progressing and you're creating new things, possibilities for a better life, and eventually, as we progress morally, spiritually, intellectually, life will become easier. And I think this somehow, some of the big crises that we see now is part of the transformation of a planet, that spiritually we are changing as well to a world of regeneration. We're getting better. And that's when I think we're going to look after each other, don't you think, Charles? Think about the other person. And but things sometimes have to get really bad to get better. And somehow we as human beings have not as yet learned through do things, through peace and love. We need to suffer. We are still in that stage. I mean, not everyone, there are different peoples, of course, but
Yes.
we're still in that phase that we have to really suffer before we need to want to change. Otherwise, we accommodate. And I think that's why all these natural things happen, because God pushes. And I think the question you said as well, Stephen, about why God allow it? Why does God allow it? And this sometimes is a source of people losing faith in God, because God is, this horrible man up there, and he wants you to suffer. And it's not, it's part of the normal process of transformation. And we see this everywhere. We see it in winter when the trees go, when they die. And I take a lot of pictures of trees, and you see the process, the change of the season. And you look, mid-January, February, they all dead, and you never think is going to anything grow again. And now spring is here, and it's beautiful. There's green leaves, and the green is so fresh. So you see the change. It has to go down, die for a while, so it comes stronger. And I think it's the same thing with us. And it's an opportunity for us, to learn and to help one another, because I think people are their very best when things are worse. Human beings, for some reason, when the situation is really, really bad, there are always people who will rise to the occasion and make a difference. And I don't know how you feel about that, but I do think that sometimes when things are really bad, when people come together and help one another much more than normally. So, you know.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, I like this comment here. This is in question 738. Um, very last part of paragraph. Um, Kardec comments whether that there results from a calamity or from an ordinary cause, we cannot uh, escape it when the hour of our departure has arrived. The only difference is that in the case of the former, a great number of souls depart at the same time. 1 second, because someone is ringing here. If we could raise our thought so as to encompass all mankind in a single glance, such terrible disaster would see no more than short lived storms in the journey of the world. So, with these comments here, a big thing for us, if you look at to the infinite, is a small thing. And is exactly what you're saying, Charles, or what Silvia is saying. Um, we need to change ourselves. Changing ourselves, we will stop destruction? No, because we need the destruction. What change? What the act of changing ourselves will allow us to a better understanding, to a better concept of this, because it's all acceptance. That's why we needed to do things better. We needed to change ourselves in order to change the perspective. We see the world, we see life, we see everything. Do you have anything to compliment, Charles?
Yes, you are totally right. I think all these natural laws, again, are pushing us to our main goal of being alive and living here incarnated on the earth is to make our mind, our soul progress. Okay. And very clearly, there is one question which is a little bit strong, but I think I will read it because it will enable us to understand. The question 742, where Kardec is asking, what is a cause that leads humankind to war? Which is the biggest problem we have nowadays. Ukraine, Palestine, but there are 80 conflicts on Earth right now. So it's not just these two; there are much more. And the answer of the Spirit is a little bit strong, but it calls our conscience, and it is. So the cause that leads humanity to war is the predominance of the animal nature over the spiritual nature and the satisfaction of humankind's passions. In the state of barbarity, nations only know the right of the strongest, and that is why war is a normal state for them. Now comes the solution. As humans evolve, war will become less frequent since they will avoid its causes. And when it does become necessary, they will know how to make it more human. What are we seeing right now? There was WW1, WW2. After WW2, some measures have been taken, as I told already, between France, Germany, UK, US, and whatsoever, to say, okay, never more this. And it's now 70 years. So in 70 years, we had 3 conflicts. Now in 70 years, we had none, at least in Europe.
Yeah.
So we know what to do in order to prevent this war to happen. Okay, Germans are different from French, different also from British people, but we respect the differences. Each one has a right to be like it is, and there is no way for us to try to impose the way of being of our neighbor. No, we just are living together with our difference, but peacefully. And this is what we need to reach in all the other countries. Leon Denis was talking the wars. In this paragraph, they say when the war is necessary. So unfortunately, the war is still necessary in some cases. How do you think about authority or the war to gain some liberty? What is the way to gain some liberty in a regime which is oppressing? Generally, it does not solve peacefully. There is necessary of some conflicts in order to win this liberty. There has been the French Revolution. There has also been US, the equivalent, or in UK and wherever. But even this, once the law of liberty will be understood better by humankind, when humankind will also understand that oppression, dictatorial or forced regimes are against the law of nature and will bring consequences to the actors of these mistakes through the law of cause and effects or action and reaction, then with the intelligence, the thing will come into a better pace, a more peaceful situation. And this is what Spiritist body of knowledge, Spiritist philosophy is encouraging, to reach this evolution, this understanding as soon as possible. And the next question, 743, Kardec is saying, will war someday disappear from the earth? Answer of the spirits, yes, when men and women understand justice and will practice God's law or natural laws. Then all nations will live as brothers and sisters. So let's disseminate this strong message. Let's make such as soon as possible to have all nations living as brothers and sisters on the earth. It may take a little bit more time, but encouraging this message, repeating it stronger and stronger, we will get there for sure.
Great. Yeah, I like this comparison and say, unfortunately, show how not behind because nobody's behind, but how far it is the perfection from us. So, Emma, you, my dear Steve, you want to add anything?
No, I mean, Charles explained really well, and that's how it is. I think one of the things is for us to have the humility and in many ways the gratitude, and instead of ask why God does allow it, we change and ask, what God wants me to learn from this experience. And I know that it seems very patronizing to talk about this when it's not actually happening to you, but whatever, in whatever situation we are, in whatever part of the world we are, we cannot escape life and the lessons that life brings with it. We may not be in the middle of some situation, war or something. And, I remember when I see my clients, quite a few people would say, oh, I shouldn't really be feeling this way because there are people starving in another country, there are wars in another country. And one thing I always try to say to them is that your pain is your pain. Your difficulty is your difficulty. The fact that there's someone living a terrible situation, and we try to help as much as we can, whenever we can. But we should not be think that my pain is less than somebody else's.
No way.
And we have difficulties in our lives, each and every person. And sometimes you go, you think if someone has a lot of money, it makes a difference. I know people quite well off. I mean, they are really rich, but they have those illnesses and they go to treatment in 3-4 different countries and they still die because the moment arrived for them to go into the spiritual world, because that's a real world. Of course, it would be nice if everyone would have the same opportunity to be treatment and everything, but we should not compare pain, because we are, each one of us, according to the Spirit Emmanuel, that was Chief Xavier, a spiritual guide, we are where we have to be. We are where we need to learn the lessons that we have to learn. And I think if we start thinking about with some humility, this is a lesson here that I need to learn. And what can I do to help myself and to help other people who are around me? And to be grateful for the things that we have. And I remember that I had this friend, he used to have these expressions. I know the expression, people don't actually use these expressions anymore, but he says, and there, by the grace of God, go I. Because if we don't have this, some more difficult times, is because we are in a place where we have lessons to learn, and be comparing to other people is not good for us, because we are not learning what we need to learn. Of course, we have to have empathy, and we have to send love and prayers and money if we can do it, and try to help everyone. But sometimes, we need to, there is this distraction, but within distraction there is life. and there is change and there is transformation, like the spirits teach us, is that destruction is necessary to bring the transformation and to help the intelligent principle to develop, because it's through pain and suffering and destruction and all that kind of thing, and trying to help one another, that we learn empathy, that we learn how the other people feel. So we know, and this brings us together as human beings, because everyone feels the same. As if you go through that, if I've been to that pain and that you're going through that, I can understand, because I've been through that, and brings us together and really makes us feel like brothers and sisters living in the same experience, instead of being grateful to God to give us courage and strength to go through the moment. And everything must pass and everything will pass, and we are progressing, and we are going to go on forward and be here on this earth until the earth as well one day will be destroyed, and a whole system will be destroyed, and sun will be a dwarf, and new life will come from all the explosions that will happen, new planets and new systems. And that's how life is: destruction and life, destruction and life. So I think it's quite exciting, really.
Yeah, it is.
Unless it's those distractions that are created by selfishness and ambition and pride. But we know that the people who cause that will be responsible for it as well. So, instead, nowadays I try to think, oh, poor things, and imagine the day they realize what they've done, how their conscience will hurt them. So instead of being angry, I try to send them some prayers, to begin to change soon, because we've all been through that anyway. So that's it.
It is. And in order to support what you just said, we can go to question 754. Kardec's comments. All faculties exist in man in a rudimentary or latent state. They develop as circumstances are more or less favorable to them. The excessive development of some then inhibits or neutralizes the development of others. The overexcitement of material instincts stifles, as it were, the moral sense. Conversely, the development of the moral sense gradually weakens those instincts which are purely animal. So this supports what Charlie said about it's happening because we are more animal than spirit, and supports what you said, my dear, in terms of my progression will cause an effect in someone's progression, and vice versa, and the other way around as well.
It's very interesting, isn't it, Stevan? This overexcitement of the material instincts. This is, I mean, every day we receive, consume this, buy a new car, have the latest cell phone, have this, have that. For what? Okay, for making the business, for selling, for having jobs, for this, for that, for something else. Good. But now, you see, how can we come out of this? Huh? But God is really, how to say, the supreme intelligence. He simply made the resources of our earth limited. Huh? During a century or more, the basic rule of economy was the earthly resources are unlimited. It's not the deal of economy. But now we see it's not exactly like that, isn't it? We cannot, for instance, just take one example only. We are doing electrical cars. Electrical cars have batteries. batteries are made with lithium. And the lithium, there are not so many resources on the Earth. And we consume already something like half of it, of the known ones. Of course, there will be discovered more, but sooner or later, lithium will end, as
Mhm.
oil, as natural gas, as a lot of other resources. Okay, so of course the progress will help us to consume less and less, to substitute some materials with some others, to make the things in a better way or whatsoever. But one thing is also sure: the cleanest energy is the one we are not consuming, isn't it? That is the cleanest one. So a lot of things that we are today considering as granted will very soon not be granted anymore, will simply be seen as not sustainable habits or goods. Huh? And this will stop this overexcitement of the material instinct, isn't it? Huh? And that is exactly when we will understand, okay, we were just blind in this overexcitement, but this is really not the way. Huh? We should make correct use of these resources that God has given us on the earth. Again, in order to enable most of the biggest number possible of souls which are incarnated on the earth progress, and not leave anyone starving. So let's share, let's be more, how to say, leaner in our consumption, in our approach. Of course, when some economists are hearing what I'm saying now, they are saying, no, shut up, shut down. No, that's not, don't say this. Please stop. Because we are all saying, what? Did you hear something? Did you see something? We do like these three monkeys, making as if it would not be a reality. But it is, unfortunately, it is. So sooner or later, we will have to face it. And I think now it will come quite quick. We can see now from some hot countries with hot temperatures like Indonesia, Thailand, the heat is so strong, even in Brazil, that the people cannot afford it anymore. So
Yes.
very soon there will be people dying, and there will be at a given point in time some panic where the people will be willing to move. And it's not just a couple of hundred, a thousand of people. It will be a billion of people, and then that will be the time of truth for the humanity. With selfishness and pride, we will never get overcome this situation. But with fraternity and with sustainable and lean consumption, there will be far enough for all the human being here on Earth and even much more to have this opportunity to progress on this planet and for still a long, long, long time.
Great. Wonderful.
But I think that's the whole thing, isn't it? We will survive.
We
Um,
will.
we will survive. I think sometimes we can get very crazy. And, if we do our part a little bit and other people do a little bit, that is going to be, and there's big changes. And I think sometimes, all this terrible heat and that, then people will be aware of what is happening. And that's what helped them to make the changes as well. But I think we need to be confident in the future that things will go by, because even the cars, this battery electric cars, but what are you going to do with the batteries of these cars?
That's what exactly
In
what I'm gonna
about
say.
15 years, and they don't last very long, we know that. There'll be a big problem with the batteries of the electric cars.
Yeah.
So, we need to work towards a clear energy. And I think maybe people should go back to the documents of Tesla, ask the American government to give it. And, his idea was to have free energy all over the planet. So maybe they should release it. And because, until the big companies that make a lot of money on petrol and batteries and whatever, those things are not, free energy, but will come because the need will arise. So, be good and things will be happy. So I'm hoping that my next incarnation will be a lot easier
At
to come
least,
back to
at
to Earth.
least. But what we said is our next incarnation starts today.
Exactly, yeah. So have started already. Yeah.
We are preparing it.
It's true, isn't it? I read once this Maria Montessori, that lady who created the education for children, babies. And I think one day a mother came to her and said, when do you think I should start educating my son to, math? And she said, how old are you? And she said, whatever age she said. She said, well, you should have started then. So, start with yourself. And that's what we need to start. And not be pessimistic. Do the best we can, do our part, and be positive, because this will help others as well. Life is good, it's precious, and we're so
Wonderful.
privileged.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And you are privileged to this access to this information here.
Oh my God, yes. This is not privilege, this is a blessing. To have the teachings of the Spirit, I
Yeah,
cannot imagine
yeah,
anything more wonderful to have happened in my life. I really can't,
yeah.
you know.
And I want to say thank you because we do have a lot of people today. Hela Rom, our dear Elsa, also Danielle Stiegel. So I hope
Yes,
you're okay, my friend. We need to bring Daniel again, talk to
yeah,
us. Our friend Saul Waters.
yeah.
Let me
I
see.
think we should ask Saul to join us every week, and it would be nice. Hi, Danielle. Big hug for you, El. And
Yeah,
Dad, and
Ruben de los Santos. Uh, So it was good to have all of you here. Let's talk with Saul. Let's see his agenda.
yes, let us
If
know,
he has
Saul. Be
agenda,
nice to have you.
if he has agenda, join the team here.
Yeah,
So
be great.
so we are already 5 minutes over.
Oh my
Let me
goodness.
just show here our no these 1 second.
Just while you looking at this, I'd just like to say this week we had the funeral service of a very dear friend of ours who, he passed, he went to the spiritual world. He was a great worker in the spiritist movement here in London. And, it was a sad occasion, but it was also quite beautiful service. And, we think about him and grateful for all his service during many, many years in the Spiritist movement in London. His name was Jack Lewis. And, send your thoughts of love to him, because he was so giving and so loving, and he used to work really hard. So, we lost him, but someone in the spiritual world has gained that he's returned. So,
Again, he
anyway,
did it, he completed his mission.
he did, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, he did. He was
yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
Yeah.
And good he left to us a good legacy.
Yes. Oh, yes. His sense of duty and service, always trying to help and always being of good cheer was always a source of a lot of
Yeah.
um, inspiration to all of us. So we miss him.
Okay. So next week, 8th of May, we will have Future Joys and Sorrows, Paradise, Hell, and Purgatory. Okay. Let's see where we're going to.
Okay.
Uh, so our Spiritism X, the date is approaching, 29 and 3rd of June. there are some tickets still available, so don't miss that. Um,
Mhm.
the series of Camille Flammarion taking place this Sunday. We will have um,
Também falou.
don't forget to read the Spiritus magazine and listen Kardec Radio. So this is it from us. Thank you so much, Charles. Thank you so much,
Thank
Silvia.
you.
It's good to be back. Thank you for having me here. I missed to be here, and I'll see you all next Wednesday.
God willing. Thank you very much. Good evening. Big hug to everyone who
God
got in
bless.
touch with us today. And God bless.
Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye bye.